Hey guys, it's me, Klaireeberry. I just want to talk with you guys today about females and casual sex. In feminism, there is this whole idea that we shouldn't be judging others for their choices. Obviously, there's a huge double standard when it comes to the genders, the sexes, and sexuality. But as with a lot of things, when we have a knee-jerk reaction or even just a very kind of base level reaction and thinking to something, we can't and don't really fully understand all of the other components of the issue. It's just like when we have a knee-jerk reaction about abortion or a knee-jerk reaction about vaccines or something. We see one little side of it, we resonate with that, and we're incapable of seeing anything else. And usually, there's a lot more to it. Gun control. There's reasons, why people have an opposing view, and truly intelligent people can really understand both sides. I think that's where debate comes in handy, as a kid, to debate the other side sometimes, so you really realize what other people are thinking, and you realize that there's more than two sides to every coin. And this is one of those issues. And also I relate this to anthropology, when people go in and try to even help, you have well-meaning, I hope you guys can hear me, when you have well-meaning intentions on going in and helping a culture, and then all of a sudden you're seeing these negative repercussions even though you had the best intentions. Well, that's how I see this. But I've had these thoughts for a really long time, and I just want to get them out because I know that, as a little bit of an older woman now, I look at a lot of younger women and I see myself in them. I see the younger me in them, and I just feel like I've accumulated a little bit of wisdom, and I've had my fair share of problems. I'm recently discovering that I've long since kind of wondered if I didn't have PTSD from an abusive relationship, but I'm realizing that I actually have childhood PTSD. And it's really teaching me a lot about myself, and this is just another step in my journey of healing. And this is kind of part of it, is to kind of realize this, talk about it, share it with you guys as well. So hopefully this can help somebody else. But I know that, again, in this day and age, it's 2019, feminism is abounding in certain circles, I guess. Still being vehemently, fought against on the internet and elsewhere. But a lot of people are aware, that we shouldn't be judging other people. And, if guys can go bisexual, then women should be too. And as I said, there's a lot of truth to that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we should be promoting casual sex or a flippant attitude towards sex. And one of the big reasons is, especially for women, and this may not be true for every single woman, because again, everybody's wired differently. Different traumas can rewire our brains differently. That's kind of the whole idea behind CPTSD. And for females who have been traumatized, and regular, normal, healthy, females who haven't experienced trauma at a young age. And I mean, let's face it, in this day and age, pretty much all of us have had some kind of trauma that's going to affect us in our lives. And a lot of females, a large percentage of females have had sexual traumatic abuse at a young age. It's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the patriarchy. It's the nature of our society and our culture. And, while trying to change that, we have this idea that we can wear whatever we want, we can do whatever we want, and, I'm not even going to get into this whole popularization of violence, of sex that women have, a lot of young women and older women, have just kind of attached to. Some people think it helps us cope with the violence and the trauma that we may have had. But to me, and again, I don't want to get into this too much because it's really kind of off topic, maybe for another video, but it's something that is taught to us and that we think is empowering, but it's really not. We think we're being strong. We think that being strong, you know, and tough is empowering. And it may feel that way, but ultimately it's not. So anyways, again, that's kind of beside the point, and I want to get deeper into that in another video, but it's along the same lines in that we think that it's what we need. We think it's what's empowering, but it's not. And again, I don't want to get into all of the patriarchy and the powers that be and why we think this and how we're being brainwashed to think these things. But that is also an element that we need to be aware of. What is society telling us to do? What is society trying to make our feminism into? And the thing is, dating is so crazy these days. You know, a lot of people, it's very common now for people to have sex on the first date, second date, third date. It's almost abnormal if you don't in certain circles. And I don't know about, you know, where you guys come from. Kansas City is not a very good dating, it's not a very good single scene. It never has been. So, you know, different places might be different, but I think, you know, a lot of times people who are single tend to stay single, and people with trauma, people who have had rough childhoods, you know, they maybe have great lives, you know, really pulled together lives, but they just can't kind of figure out that emotional, relationship piece, even though they really do want it. And I look around and I see this so much, and it breaks my heart to just be able to see, you know, from the outside looking in, you can sometimes see things better than people, you know, when they have something so close to their face you can't see a picture. You know, if you're looking at it like this at yourself, sometimes you can't see it. You have to step away, and you can sometimes see. I see a lot of women doing this, you know, and it's a trap that we've gotten into in this society that we're expected to put out, and if we don't, we're weird. And, you know, it is our natural biological impulse as well to, you know, want to have sex, and as it's normalized and as it's almost promoted, again, especially in, you know, an empowering feminist way, like we should be able to do anything a man can do, you know, and why not do this, you know, it's safe, right? And first of all, no, it's not safe. Casual sex is not safe at all. You know, condoms are only so much effective. They can break. Most people don't wear them correctly. They can fall off. They can get stuck inside a woman. Just different issues. And, you know, some men will take them off. And it's just one of those things. Also, you can have diseases and different things that are spread just on the skin contact outside of, you know, whether it's in the mouth, whether it's in just the genital area, you know, like a lot of these diseases you can get on the surface of the skin and they'll leave you outside. Like it's one of those things, you know, there's no such thing as safe sex. And I think that we need to remember that. And STDs are on the rise. And I think a lot of it has to do with dating these days. It's much more anonymous. You know, we have bigger cities. People are getting out of this old-fashioned, I call it like a European sense of, you know, this person, you know, their family. You know, some areas are like that, but overall communities like that are less and less across the country. And like in Europe, you know, people still, it's smaller areas, smaller locations, so people still have that. You know, when people don't date like we do here in America, people get introduced, they meet at parties, at friends' houses, and they date in groups, and I think this is a much better way to do it. But again, here in America, you know, it can be very anonymous. I mean, you make a dating profile, you can be whoever you want. It's not usually connected to any other social media profiles that you might have. You know, as women, you know, it's encouraged, I highly encourage, you know, to do research ahead of time, but sometimes that's even, you know, frowned upon. And also, it is frowned upon because, oh, you're taking the spontaneity away. You're whatever happened to getting to know somebody the old-fashioned way. Well, that's what men say when men don't really have to worry about so much about, being killed and raped on the first date and all of this stuff. And, it's good to do your homework. It's good to do your research. And another thing I've noticed as a kind of a trend is that when girls get on websites and these dating sites and they want to take their time in getting to know somebody, and they realize that sometimes they can get pressured into things, and have a drink or two, because what's the most common thing to do on a date is to go get some drinks, right? As a rule, in our society, drinking is completely normalized and promoted. So, if you don't drink, you're just automatically, want to go out on a date with you because you just must be no fun. You must be a nun or something. So, we want to just like have a conversation, get to know somebody, maybe look for some red flags before we get attached to people. And guys tend to, they talk smack on this even on their profiles. They sit there and say, oh, I want to get to know people in real life, and this and this and that. And that's just a key word for, hey, I'm a fuckboy and I want to meet as many people as possible, as fast as possible. And I don't want to, give you the patience and the time that you might need to feel comfortable. That's what that means. So if you see that on a dating site, just go ahead and run away the other way. So I just want to really kind of speak through this kind of facade, this kind of hard shell. I feel like a lot of women have put on, it shows in our style these days. We're all, the rock and roll style has been popular for a decade now. And I've always been like into that. I think it's a form of protection. Wearing black is a form of protection in a way. And it's like, we're tough. And that's what this idea kind of goes for, is that, I'm a tough guy. Like, this is how I protect myself. But whenever we act this way, it just doesn't, we can act that way all we want. We can even act like, oh, and I say this carefully because I find this kind of duality within myself. Like, oh, at times I found, I'm very happy, if I want to just be single and not really focus on my relationship, or, and then there's times that I really do realize, like, yeah, I actually do want to take this relationship deeper or whatever. And it's like a kind of a balance, kind of a duality, like back and forth thing that I go through in my head. And I know that I see that with a lot of other women as well, talking about their relationships and their lack thereof. And it's like, on one hand, you want to be the strong, independent woman who doesn't care, and who can really truly support yourself, be happy alone. And at a certain point, you will start to crave, the comfort and the stability and the friendship, and you get lonely. And so it's like this, I'm lonely, I'm not lonely, I'm lonely, I'm independent. And it's like, I want people to not be afraid of wanting a good, healthy relationship. Obviously, we shouldn't be feeling like we need it, because I don't think we do, but it is shown to be healthier to be in a relationship, especially for males, I think, physically. But I think for females, it's definitely healthier to be in a good, healthy, relationship mentally, especially for, again, females with PTSD. And again, I'm saying this or that, males, females, whatever, for all of us, a good, stable, healthy relationship is healthy, and again, that's not to say that any relationship is better than no relationship at all, because obviously it's got to be that healthy relationship, or it's going to be detrimental. And they say that, the most people, the closest people in our inner circle really are one of the biggest things that determine how our life is going, really more than, probably more than our diet, our jobs, like more than a lot of things. And so it's really important to make sure that we're not falling into the trap of getting into negative relationships. And I've had an abusive relationship in the past, so I definitely do know some about this. And from the research that I'm doing on PTSD, it's really, really common. And, we all know that, obviously, for, people who've been abused, people who are codependent, people who, we attract the narcissist. We, the girls with daddy issues, attract the bad boys, worst of all, and all of this. It's very, very, we know about this. almost kind of on the surface level. But we do. Anybody with trauma, again, especially women, but this can apply to men too, especially when you're triggered at a very young age, can have really have a lot of problems with just intimacy in general, even just with friends, and with lovers as well. Again, can really be high functioning in other ways and then have some issues with this. And it is actually, they're showing now, it's due to like actual wiring in the brain. It's not even psychological, it's neurological. It's something that, is a physical difference in your brain, like structurally wired differently. And we can have, just impulse control, even like rage and things like that. We can say things that we don't mean, but we can also not say no when we don't want something. And we can definitely cling to relationships that are unhealthy. And it's just all kind of a part of this wiring. And also it includes pushing good people away. And it's unfortunate, but we do this, and then sometimes we even just, if we notice a pattern that we're doing this, we tell ourselves, that we don't care, we're happy to be single. And we do that I think part of it is when you're going through, like at first you feel like you need somebody, you're in the shitty relationships, and then as a healing, you go through it and you realize, no, you get to the healing stage where you don't need anybody. And that is a great point to be in. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. And if you feel like being independent the rest of your life, then that's fine. But I think most of us really do crave that touch, stability, and the healthy benefits that a good relationship will actually bring. So, again, casual sex doesn't help us to do this, obviously. And I think, again, it's kind of a mechanism for us to be tough and to, put us on the same level playing field as men. And we think we can handle it, but the fact is that whether you're, a kind of a normal, more healthy brain or a traumatized brain, you are going to have issues with this, especially as a female. And again, some males are wired differently. So if this relates to you, this relates to you regardless of whether I'm saying male or female, because obviously there's more genders than two anyways. But, this is just based on my knowledge and perceptions and all of that. So the thing is women, though, especially like biologically wired, differently, and throughout the past millennia, we're the ones that are taking care of the babies, we're the ones doing the up close, we're the ones more wired with the oxytocin, and men were already out hunting, out doing different things, and they were more social, and then also in control of power structures and relationships. So that's all kind of trickled down to, again, just the basic differences in the way that we relate. And so men, the chase is where they get their like attachment out of, usually a little bit more when they have to work for something. And then females, they actually kind of after the bond, that's when they feel more strongly. And males kind of after, like especially the initial sex bond, they sort of have a dip. And it's not that they can't love, but it's kind of like, oh, well, I've conquered. And again, this is very rudimentary explanation, but there is some truth to it. Again, it's not an end all be all of the way that every person thinks or whatever, but it's just kind of hormonally the way that things are. And for women, it's just much harder to keep things casual. And you've probably heard about this phenomenon with the friends with benefits phenomenon, where two parties, let's say if we're talking about opposite sex parties, just for the purposes of this video and this point, but you have two, a man and a woman going into a friends with benefits, situation where they are trying to just stay friends, and usually, not always. In fact, it can definitely go both ways, and I think sometimes when you have a friend zone that kind of just, it can definitely be altered, backwards. But a lot of times, stereotypically, it's going to be the female that ends up developing feelings. And again, this is, I think, biological. So I want to offer, just a few pieces of advice, and it's really just basic common sense. And again, this is for either any gender, any sex, but if you find yourself in that situation, and a lot of people don't even have that mentality where, oh, casual sex is great, but we still find ourselves, when we do end up going out to date, find ourselves jumping in super fast, getting attached, just getting really, really intimate before we even know the person. And then, boom, your attachment response is created. You're attached to this person, and you don't even know if you really even want to be with them. And just it's so common, especially for women. And so with dating, I think that it needs to be normalized. We need to stop promote tolerance. That's great, but don't promote this idea that women have to be, sexually used and abused in order to be fulfilled. Like, abstinence should be okay. Taking time off, it should be okay. Saying I'm not going to have sex until, I feel like it, however long that may be, should be totally something that we should also speak up for, if not as much, if not more than saying it's okay for women to have casual sex. I think that was the 70s. This is 2019. It's 50 years later, and we're still kind of acting in that same way, even on a higher level. And it's like, no, this isn't getting us anywhere. This is getting us more STDs. This is getting us more heartbreak. We're getting, this phenomenon where, it's a female, who's always talking about, oh, fuck my life, like, gonna be alone forever, gonna be a cat lady. And these men are even more empowered by the fact that they get to have sex with whomever they want, whenever they want. They still have all the power. This isn't really, it's not doing anything for us. It's making us weaker. And so clearly defined boundaries, and don't make the mistake of saying, oh, 3 dates. Oh, after 10 dates I'll have sex, because then that just shows the guy all he has to do is take you out on 3 dates or 10 dates, and then bam, you get your sex, and then guess what? He's going to be done with you after that. It's not a set number for the sake of waiting, or for the sake of telling yourself, wow, congratulations, you did it, you waited until 3 whole dates this time. It's like, no, do it for you, let it be your feeling. And of course, don't let yourself get into the position where you're tempted, if that's who you are. Just lay it out there that, you're not going to be drinking maybe, or you're not going to come over to the house at night, or even during the day, like meet up, like create a culture to where you're going out and doing fun things, to where you can talk to somebody and get to know them. You're not just going out getting shit-faced together and then ending up at home. Like, this is a culture that is not positive. It's not helping us. It needs to be structured. It needs to be delayed. Again, especially for women, the act of having sex makes our hormones help us get attached. The oxytocin, again, we have oxytocin that we deal with and always have within childbirth. It just affects us more. And, men are these natural roamers, and that doesn't mean it's always going to be like that. That doesn't mean men can't settle down, yada, yada, yada. But when you delay this attachment response, it's good for both parties if you're wanting to, empower yourself, if you're wanting to have something lasting and actually healthy. Because what we're doing is getting into relationships based on this sex bond, and then guess what? We don't even know these people. We don't know their good habits. We don't know their bad habits. We don't know their history. We don't know their family. We don't know anything about them. Or what we thought we knew was just a projection and an archetype of the mind of who we, this perfect idealization of a person that we always thought of we would be with, or that, our dream person. you're like, oh, they're tall, dark, and handsome, and they've got a good job, and they seem to be respectful enough at first. And so, especially for women, it's like check, check, check a few boxes, and bam, we're hooked. And, we're ready to get hurt again. It's just like so cliche. Like, stop living your life as a cliche, please, and dig a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with being conservative in this way. And, for anybody who's putting up red flags saying, oh, you're such a prude, you're no fun, because you don't drink and you're not putting out and all this stuff. Like, again, fuck boy, like, obvious, red flag, glaring in your face, run the other way. Like, respect yourself enough to give yourself a true fighting chance, because it doesn't matter even if a guy is a real top-notch guy, a real catch, to be the cliche here. And then this is kind of where the what do you call it, the double standard kind of comes in, because it's not to say that good men don't and good women as well don't ever do this, but the women who will jump into bed faster are normally the ones who have deeper issues. And with a man, I don't think it necessarily shows as much of issues. And again, people are going to say, whoa, Claire, like, that's a double standard. But I'm just saying from my own personal experience, like, even a decent man is going to be more tempted once they get going, once they get with a person. And, that may be sexist. It may sound sexist. I don't think it is sexist. And I'm not trying to say it happens more often, or they do it less. I think that good men probably do, that less. I think that I think that good men are out there looking for a good woman, just like good women are out there looking for good men. But I think that a truly good man will lead more, and kind of know to put the brakes on things more. Whereas if a man is falling for a woman like fast, and she's traumatized and she has really bad issues, and the man is already like in, deep enough to, get sexual, again, the man's not going to get attached. The man's going to be like, he's not going to say he's not going to have that good time in the heat of the moment, but he's not going to want to take it past that point, because he doesn't want to really be with a woman like that. You know what I mean? So yes, I believe that the women out there who are making a habit of, like they're together and they're just, I don't want to say damaged, because that sounds so bad and like hopeless, but traumatized. They get in these situations kind of over and over, and it's hard to differentiate between a good man or a bad man, if they're using you and then they ditch you, or if it's a good man and he just was turned off by the fact that you were spreading your legs on this first or second date. You know what I mean? And again, he could be a player and he could be a good guy, and we're never going to know. You know what I mean? But I think the good guys will veer away from that sort of thing and try to learn to identify the females who are doing that. And again, it's not that a good man doesn't want to have a good time, and that's where kind of the issue comes in, but it's that a female who is traumatized is not going to be attracted sometimes to the good man who is closed off to that sort of thing, because they're going to see the red flags, just like as females are going to be turned off by red flags that a guy is a hoe. So it's the same thing, just backwards. It's just different to look at, because we're not used to looking at men like that. We're used to thinking about all men as pigs, So we need to think about that. And if we are a good, if you feel like you're a good woman or a good person, and you want a good partner, like, you need to act like the partner that a good man would want. Don't act like the partner that a pig or a dog, I hate saying that, because pigs are so great and so are dogs, but you know what I mean, like, standard terms in our society. Like, this is what it is. And it's like boasting, you know, publicly about sex and dirty details of your sex life is like gonna obviously turn a good man off. So don't be surprised if you're doing that, if you're acting like that, if you're going around, you know, letting everybody know how much casual sex you're having, you know, and like you can literally look on your Facebook or whatever and tell how many partners you've had in the past few months. Like, don't expect that that's going to attract a good man. Like, we need to take it slow. We need to show that, like, we are, you know, precious. You know, act like you have diamonds between your legs, you know, and because you really do. It's a treasure, and it's a lot. You know, this whole underlying ideas of, you know, the DNA being, you know, altered. I mean, it gets really deep. It's not just, oh, safety and not getting attached. It's like, this is real stuff that I don't even think we understand the depth of in our lives. But again, it is really important, I think, for women, because we can get attached really, really quickly. And it sucks to get attached to either, you know, a traumatic person who's, you know, just bad for us and abusive in different ways, narcissistic, and, you know, even covert narcissists are very hard to spot, verbally abusive, whatever, you know, or even just getting attached to a good guy who isn't going to be there for you because he wants, you know, a higher quality woman that's not going to, you know, have sex that early and get attached that early. Because I think, you know, deep down we know, you know, that somebody with standards and options is going to take their time and be a little bit more choosy. And really, again, the most important thing is just getting to know someone, because even if someone is a great guy, doesn't mean he's going to be great with you. It doesn't mean your compatibility is going to work. And those are the kind of things you really got to make dating about. Checking that person out. It's not about, oh, I met you, you check off a few boxes, let's fucking get married. You know, that's, I think, a lot of the big piece that I think men have figured out, because they have these options, or they feel like they do, or they've been taught by society that they do. Women haven't been taught that way. Women, you know, we're just waiting for this tall, dark, and handsome prince to ride up on a horse and save us. You know, it's like totally fucked up. So anyway, practice is over, and it's time to wrap this up anyway. I'm glad that we talked about this. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, and also have a vegan website, Klaireeberry.com. Have lots of vegan studies there. Normally I talk here about veganism, but I also delve off into other different topics. And, you know, healing and everything is one of them. So check out my playlist if you want to kind of go into off-topic stuff, off of veganism, or like mental health or different things. I have some different playlists that you can check out as well. So I hope you're doing great. Again, I would love to hear what you have to say. Thumbs up, thumbs down, and take care. Don't forget to eat your fruit, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.